Hope always lifts us up, but it often slips our mind that hope can also easily blind us. It influences us to believe that we've finally found the right place, a place where we belong, a new sense of purpose that feels right. But over time, slowly starts to fade away. What once felt welcoming will start to feel heavy, and before anyone realizes the truth, leaving will not be an option. But how can a sacred promise end up costing many lives? Keep watching to find out, because this story will surely leave you stunned. Let's rewind all the way back to the 1970s, a period in America when the whole country was lost in its own way. People were tired of racism, tired of war, struggling with poverty, and tired of feeling alone. They wanted something better. They wanted to believe in hope again. For thousands of people, that hope came from one man, Jim Jones. He led a group called the People's Temple. In the beginning, it looked like everything they'd been missing: acceptance, support, and a place that finally felt right. It looked like love, equality, safety, and community. It looked like salvation. But in 1978, the truth behind that promise took a turn no one expected. It was the final command of a leader they had once trusted completely. What started as a search for hope slowly turned into fear, control, and one of the darkest tragedies in modern history: the preacher and the movement. The People's Temple started in the 1950s in Indianapolis. This was a time when the country was still divided by race, and unfair treatment was just part of how things worked back then. Jim Jones grew up in rural Indiana. He didn't have an easy childhood. Most of it felt lonely and difficult. He was known for being obsessed with religion and death, even staging funerals for small animals. Even as a kid, he was drawn to intense religion and the ideas of communism. These influences strongly shaped the way he talked about helping people and standing up for what he called social justice. Jones stepped into this moment with a message that felt sacred. He said everyone was equal. He said people of all races could come together. He said the poor and the vulnerable deserved help. He welcomed Black Americans into his church at a time when it felt unusual. To many, he seemed brave. He seemed compassionate. He seemed like a real fighter for justice. The founding of the People's Temple in Indianapolis coincided with its rapid early growth, attracting a largely working class and interracial congregation. By the 1960s, the temple had established itself as a vibrant, counter-cultural force committed to Christian socialism. People joined the temple because it did real work. Members helped run soup kitchens that fed people who had nothing. They spent time with older folks who felt forgotten. They set up support programs for people dealing with addiction. They reached out to anyone who needed help or had nowhere to turn. This deep commitment to grassroots activism was the primary engine of its initial success, filling a void left by mainstream institutions. For many members, it was the first time they felt noticed and appreciated. Black women, who often faced the worst treatment in daily life, finally found a place where they felt safe and respected. To them, Jim Jones looked like someone who stood up for them when others didn't. Some even began calling him a protector or a savior. He preached with a kind of energy that immediately grabbed people's attention. His sermons were loud and emotional. He talked about love, equality, and everyone taking care of one another. He even performed miracles by pulling illnesses out of people's bodies. No one knew at the time that it was all set up, but the feeling of belonging people found there felt completely real. Members shared their money and their homes. Some signed over everything they owned to the temple because they believed they were helping build a better world. The move to California and the control. The temple grew quickly, but so did Jim Jones' need for control. He started talking about an apocalypse that was coming. He predicted that nuclear war was near, but all along, he said that he knows where exactly to go in order to survive. In 1965, he led his followers to Redwood Valley, California. He said it was a safe place, away from danger. But the move also took his followers farther from family, from community, and from anyone who might question his power. In California, the temple became even more influential. They moved into large cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles. Jones skillfully used his hundreds of dedicated followers to provide political support to local officials, earning him favor and transforming the people's temple into a crucial and reliable voting bloc. Politicians, including San Francisco Mayor George Moscone, publicly courted Jonas' endorsement because the temple could mobilize thousands of votes and volunteers Slowly, he became a well-known figure who earned a position on the San Francisco Housing Authority. Many people believed he was a respected community leader. But inside the temple walls, the atmosphere was already changing. Jim Jones demanded total loyalty. He became more controlling, more paranoid, and more dangerous. He called himself Father and expected everyone to obey him without question. He told members that the outside world was corrupt and evil. He said that only he could protect them, and if anyone disagreed with him, even slightly, they were punished. People were beaten in front of others. They were humiliated in public meetings. Children were punished in ruthless ways. Members were encouraged to report on one another. Privacy began to disappear. Friendships began to weaken. Fear began to replace trust. Jones held meetings that would go on for hours. People were tired. Their minds were worn out. Their bodies were exhausted. Little by little, it started to break them down. When people are tired and cut off from others, they become easier to control. Jones knew that. He used it. He also started taking a lot of drugs that made him even more paranoid. He believed the government was watching him. He believed journalists were trying to destroy him. He believed enemies were everywhere. He created a terrifying drill, something he called White Nights. In the middle of the night, an alarm would suddenly go off. Members would gather in panic as Jones announced that the temple was under attack. Sometimes he gave them drinks and told them it was poison. When they drank it and survived, he revealed it was a test. At the end of the day, Jones was just preparing them for what was about to come. The jungle prison. Jonestown, when journalists started looking into the abuse inside the temple, Jones realized he couldn't hide forever. This scrutiny, coupled with high-profile defections from key members, created immense pressure and paranoia. Defectors were already raising alarms in the US and actively working with a group called the Concerned Relatives to expose the abuse and financial fraud within the temple. So, he made a final move. He told his followers they would leave the country and start over in a remote jungle in Guyana, South America. He promised it would be a paradise. He said they would finally build a perfect community, free from racism and government control. For many people who felt lost and ignored in America, the idea of a fresh start sounded like everything they had been waiting for. But when they finally arrived, Jonestown was nothing like the dream they were promised. The heat was overwhelming. Food was limited. Buildings were unfinished. Many were already sick. Armed guards watched the area. People quickly realized they were trapped. Their passports had been taken away. They were far from home. They were isolated in the jungle, surrounded by thick forest. Escape was almost impossible. Jones controlled every part of daily life. His voice played through loudspeakers, day and night. He spoke about loyalty, enemies, and death. He told them they were surrounded by danger. He told them he was the only one who cared for them. The work days were long. People were always hungry and tired. Every day felt harder than the last. The dream of equality turned into a life of suffering and fear. In Jonestown, the people who had once been hopeful now felt broken. Children were raised to see Jones as their father, not their real parents. Families were separated emotionally. People who tried to escape were drugged, punished, and forcefully brought back. Those who expressed doubts were beaten. Jonestown was a prison. The final days, back in the United States, relatives and former members were worried. They begged the government to investigate. On the 17th of November, 1978, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan arrived in Jonestown, decided he had to see things for himself. He was known for his courage and felt it was his duty to find out the truth. So he flew to Guyana with a few journalists and family members looking for answers. At first, Jonestown put on a performance. They sang songs, they talked about the community, they smiled for the cameras. But beneath the surface, many were terrified. During the visit, some members secretly handed notes to journalists, begging for help. For the first time, the outside world could see the fear. One of these notes was given to NBC reporter Don Harris, and another to Ryan himself. When Congressman Ryan prepared to leave, a group of people asked to go with him. The initial group of a few grew to about 15 members, including an entire family. The group grew to this size because the sudden sight of others leaving and the clear support from a U.S. congressman broke the wall of fear for the people who had been secretly hoping for an escape route. This moment went against Jonah's illusion of control. He knew that if people left, they could reveal the truth. The world would learn about the abuse, the punishments, and the suffering. Jonestown could fall apart. Jones would lose everything. On the afternoon of the 18th of November, 1978, as the congressman's 2 planes were being prepared at the small port Kaituma airstrip, armed temple guards suddenly pulled up. Without warning, they opened fire. Leo Ryan was killed instantly, becoming the only U.S. congressman ever assassinated in the line of duty. 3 journalists were also killed. 1 temple member died. Many others were injured. It was a shocking act of violence, a turning point, the final command. After this, Jones believed the United States government would come for him. Instead of surrendering, he made the final, horrifying decision. He called all members to the pavilion for one last white night. This time, there was no test. This time, there was no trick. This time, it was their nightmare come true. The final moments in Jonestown were recorded on audio.
A handful of our people, with their lives, have made our life impossible. They're all laying out their dead. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear. I call on you to quit exciting your children when all they're doing is going to quiet rest. Get in, folks, it's easy.
Listening to them now is haunting. Jones spoke calmly, telling his followers they were now in the hands of the enemy. He said, dying was the only way to stay free. He told parents to give poison to their children first. He insisted it was a peaceful act and that it was revolutionary suicide, not murder. Many people cried and begged for another choice. Some screamed in pain. They had been controlled for years. They were scared and felt there was no way out. The children were poisoned first, using syringes. After that, the adults were told to line up and drink a mix of cyanide and a sweet drink. Some didn't want to, but they were forced at gunpoint. Some tried to run but couldn't escape. Many simply did what they were told, numb and exhausted. By the end of the night, 909 people were dead. 276 of them were children. A small number of people survived, mostly those who were not present at the pavilion during the mass suicide, including a few who had managed to hide in the surrounding jungle or were outside of Jonestown on errands. Bodies were later found lying close together, many of them holding each other. Families were found dead, resting next to each other. Jim Jones was found dead too, with a gunshot wound to the head, but no one knows if he shot himself or if someone else did it. The sheer scale of the tragedy required a massive effort by the U.S. military. In the days that followed, the U.S. Army undertook a painful body recovery operation in the remote jungle. The jungle heat was intense, the conditions were rough, and getting each victim out took a lot of careful work. They flew over 909 bodies back to Dover Air Force Base for identification, a job that was so overwhelming and unlike anything they'd faced before. The tragedy also gave rise to the enduring cultural phrase, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid," though the fatal mix was actually a fruit-flavored drink called Flavorade. The Jonestown tragedy shocked the world. For years, it was the biggest loss of American lives in one event. But the numbers don't show the true reality of these people. They were not mindless followers. They were regular people who wanted something better. People who believed in fairness and community. People who wanted a place to finally feel safe. So they trusted a leader who promised to give them everything and more. It ended up completely reshaping the public's view of religious groups and leaders who claimed to offer hope. But the horror burned into America's memory, leaving a wound that may never truly heal. Jonestown shows the consequences of high-handedness and the atrocities one leader can commit when nobody is there to go against them. It shows how slow manipulation can be and how fear can replace hope without anyone noticing. It reminds us that anyone can be vulnerable when they are looking for comfort or belonging. The victims of Jonestown deserve to be remembered with kindness. Their story is painful and heartbreaking, but it matters. It reminds us to be careful about who we trust, to help people who feel alone, and to understand how quickly hope can be twisted into something we would never expect. So, which part of this story shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this video made you pause for a moment, give us a like and share it with a friend who should know about it. Make sure you hit subscribe and join us in this journey of discovering the truth behind more dark stories together. Thanks for watching.